For the most part, the characters we've covered in these moral character quests have been less than upstanding people. But that's just the way things go in Moralton. Almost everybody's at least some kind of evil. We have child predators like Mr. Creepler, we have people that systematically destroy families like Coach Stopframe, and then we have Miss Censordoll who's all kinds of messed up. Many, including myself, have pointed to Orel and called him the one good person in the entire town. And that's kind of true. Orel is a being of pure innocence who can't do anything wrong, at least intentionally. But if we had to pick someone else other than Orel to be the quote-unquote good person of the town, that just might have to be Stephanie Putty. To put it simply, Stephanie here is the woman on the outside. She's everything that Moralton hates. She's a free-thinking, liberal, heavily pierced lesbian who runs a sex shop in the seedy part of town. For the most part, she's kept at a distance, but when the people of Moralton need her services, suddenly she's the go-to person to help them with their needs. So many things in her life should have made her a really depressed, angry, bitter person, but no. She's managed to overcome all these bad things and has become a legitimately good person. Even if she did give Orel a piercing in his area, that part's a little questionable, but everything else she does in the show is just fine. Firstly, Stephanie was raised by, let's be real, a crazy lady. This is Gladys Foamwire, and according to Reverend Putty, she's a religious nut, and that means something in Moralton. I can't imagine what it must have been like for Stephanie to be growing up and finding out that she disagrees with everything that the town holds dear, all while being raised by the town's biggest cheerleader and fanatic. If this woman's crazy enough to stalk Reverend Putty, steal his tissues, and create an illegitimate child, who knows what she could have done? No matter what happened though, it wouldn't deter Stephanie from being who she is. She's very forthright and open about what she believes. She'll call a spade, maybe even worse than a spade, and that's because to her, self-expression is one of the most important things there is. Especially in an environment where everybody has to think and feel the same way about everything. Which probably explains why she looks the way she does. Gotta stick it to Moralton, you know? And this kind of free-thinking, rabble-rousing behavior would most certainly draw ire from all the town's leaders. She's shunned and is considered an outcast and a monster and a heathen. Someone who would belong in Sinville and not their precious, wonderful, perfect little town. After a while, this has got to get to you, but Stephanie rarely ever shows it. The way she talks about Moralton makes it clear that she's above all this petty squabbling and drama. None of that's important to her. She's gonna focus on being her best self, and no one's gonna stop her. Though that's got to be a very isolated existence. She doesn't really have any friends or people to rely on, at least before she meets Orel, so she's just there, in her shop. But then when she does meet Orel, something strange happens. She meets someone who's a legitimately good person and who won't judge her for being different. It's because of this the two strike up a really close bond. In exchange for Orel not judging her beliefs, or her lifestyle, she never judges anything that Orel says or the kind of situations he gets himself into week after week. A mutual understanding between two misfits. And thanks to Orel, she's able to expand her social circle a little bit more when she finally meets her dad. And that dad just so happens to be Reverend Putty. This, on paper, sounds like a disaster. Reverend Putty, while technically being one of the better people in the town, is one of the main people that Moralton rallies behind in order to get its spiritual guidance. A lot of the bile that they spew and the hatred that they feel, they can come from Putty's sermons. Even if he has a good reaction to hearing that she's his daughter, who's to say that the town would respond just as nicely? We can see that whenever Moralton's beliefs are challenged, or whenever they find something that they don't like, they will do whatever they can to either fix the problem or dispose of it. Like in Before Orel, when Orel was questioning God, an emergency midnight sermon was put into place to change Orel's mind. And in Geniuses, when the leaders of Moralton weren't able to hide evidence of the missing link, they threw him in the freezer hoping that he would never be found again. Connecting with her father could have been a very dangerous thing for Stephanie to do, but once again, she's above whatever Moralton can come up with. She's gonna do what's best for her. And while at first things don't go well between them, especially with the Reverend trying to hit on someone who keeps saying, "I'm your daughter," the two end up hitting it off and have a proper father-daughter relationship. In Close Face, Reverend Putty also kind of implies that he's a little bit more accepting of Stephanie's lifestyle than he lets on. After a long wait, Stephanie finally has people to rely on, and in turn has people to rely on her. Given that she was ignored, hated, betrayed, and maybe worse considering Gladys Fomeyer, she should have been in the prime position to become the atheist Clay. But in fact, she ended up being the opposite. She's always there to help a friend in need and give some sage advice. Like in Narcissism, when Reverend Putty was battling with his feelings for Florence, she's the one who told him, "You gotta be honest with how you feel. Talk to her, and maybe she'll respond well." And wouldn't you know it? She did. Sort of. She also helped Orel with his prayer competition, and while yes, that kind of got him in trouble, that wasn't her fault, that was because of the town's closed-minded nature. And maybe it's just me, but I have a feeling that if some of the other townspeople opened up to her, she might want to help them out as well. This is for two reasons. One, she wants to undo all the stuff that happened to her. The way I see it, she's paying it forward. If she could be nice to somebody, maybe they can pass it on, and then that person will pass it on, and they'll pass it on, and eventually Moralton really will be a nice place to live. No more judgment, no more hatred, everybody's a friend of everybody else, and most importantly, they practice what they preach. No longer is Christianity just an excuse to justify their bad behavior. The people of Moralton can legitimately be good people. And it all stems from a sense of forgiveness that comes from being beyond this kind of craziness that dwells in the town. And the other reason I think she'd help other people out is because, well, her line of work is kind of revolved around not judging other people. She runs Moralton's sex shop, so she knows a lot about some of the darker sides of the people in town. She also knows who her clients are, and if word got out, that would be really devastating for their all so important reputations. Let me put it this way, even though Moralton's supposed to be this fine upstanding community, they give Stephanie's store enough business to keep it afloat. So that means there's got to be tons of these quote-unquote righteous people flocking to her store and buying the crazy thing she's got hidden in the back. She has this community nuke, and she's not gonna use it. Way to go, Stephanie, taking the high road. Stephanie, I'm sure, would have had a lot more to do had the series gone on. As it stands, despite being one of the most popular and recognizable characters in the show, she barely has any appearances of substance. The only time she appears in something beyond a cameo are The Blessed Union, Be Fruitful and Multiply, Close Face, and Narcissism, and that last one wasn't even completed until We Here made that animatic. Personally, I would have liked to have seen her mix some more with the town, especially the women who would not take kindly to her free-thinking liberal nature. But as I tend to say whenever we talk about a character with either an unfinished or unmade storyline, we have to take what we can get. And what we've got is a really down-to-earth, likable character with a lot of layers. What she lacks in screen time, she makes up for her genuine personality and her ability to set an example to the future generation. Specifically Orel, because I don't think Doey's gonna be running around that store anytime soon. Despite all the hardships she's endured and all the isolation she's been subjected to, Stephanie Putty remains one of the best people in town. However, because she's different and socially unacceptable, she will always remain the woman on the outside. Well folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What's your favorite Stephanie moment, and which Stephanie relationship is your favorite? Stephanie and Orel or Stephanie and Reverend Putty? And I'm talking about platonic relationship and familial, obviously. Hey fanfiction writers out there, I can hear you typing. Stop, that's gross. There we go, that's better. Anyways, comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. And now it's time to thank our wonderful Patreon friends, starting with our Masters of Fate. Manny Paredes, Kev, Leaf Storm, Ryan Williams, Chan 11, Woody Woo, MD the Dude, and Diego V. And now our executive producers, Unkill, Blackjack, Edward Haas, H.R. Hoffman, Who Else But Zane, YouTube Milkwad, Albert Robinson, I Am Fove, Aaron Vasquez, Ravioli Supremo, and Indiscreet One. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then why not consider donating to the Patreon? There's a link in the description below for you to check out. And if you want to get more involved in the Media Mementos fan community, we've got a Discord server. There's also a link to that in the description as well. Alright folks, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time.